Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this virtual National Drive Electric Week event. Today's event is geared toward Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas residents, but no matter where you are tuning in, we hope to provide you with an informative and engaging online experience. My name is Chelsea Adcock, and I'm the Consumer Programs Marketing Coordinator for Southwestern Electric Power Company. SWEPCO is an American electric power company and serves more than 536,000 customers in Northwest Louisiana and Central Louisiana, Western Arkansas, Northeast Texas, and the Texas Panhandle. SWEPCO's headquarters are in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is where I'm located. Today's virtual event is part of the 10th annual National Drive Electric Week, a coast-to-coast celebration of electric vehicles. National Drive Electric Week is presented by Plug-in America, the Sierra Club, and the Electric Auto Association, and is sponsored by Electrify America. I'd also like to highlight how Nissan has been the exclusive automotive sponsor since 2012. This event is one of nearly 200 online and in-person 2020 National Drive Electric Week events. So thank you for joining us in the celebration. We're going to start with a presentation on electric vehicle basics for anyone who is unfamiliar with or new to this type of vehicle. Then we've got two brief videos for you to watch. The first is a one-on-one interview with a dealership representative, and the second is an electric vehicle test drive. We've reserved the most time for a panel discussion with electric vehicle owners from Northwest Arkansas, Northwest Louisiana, and Northeast Texas. Before we dive in, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. This event is scheduled to last an hour and a half, and as you probably noticed, it's being recorded. The recording, as well as the EV 101 slides, will be emailed to you in 24 hours. All attendees have been muted to protect the audio quality of this recording and to allow our panelists to speak without interruption. If you have questions at any point during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box or the chat box in your WebEx control panel. I'll bring them up after the presentation and during the panel discussion. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Jeff Bigpen. Jeff is SWEPCO's Alternative Energy Resource Manager, and over the last year, he's taken the lead on SWEPCO's Electric Transportation Initiative. Jeff has been part of the AEP family for more than 27 years, and he's located in Bossier City, Louisiana. Jeff, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea, and thank you for everybody attending. We want to spend a little time going over some basics about EVs. So I'm sure there are plenty of folks on the phone that know more about this than I, but we did want to spend some time for those that weren't quite acquainted with some of it, just to talk about some basics, different types, how they charge, that type of information. Okay, the next slide there, Chelsea. You know, there are more than one type of EV technology on the market. A battery electric vehicle, you'll hear the term BEV sometimes, runs exclusively on electricity using onboard batteries that are only charged by plugging into an outlet or a charging station at some location. Battery capacity and size on these models vary, but they have in general, they have the largest energy storage capacity of all EV categories, and most of these use lithium-ion battery technology. Examples that you'll see of the BEVs, the straight electric vehicles, are Tesla, the Chevy Volt, Nissan Leaf, Audi E-Tron, and there are plenty more. But next one. Okay, the hybrids and plug-in hybrids. Now, there is a difference. A hybrid vehicle uses both an electric motor and an internal combustion engine, and sometimes you'll hear the term ICE, internal combustion engine, referring to gasoline vehicles. But the hybrid uses both the electric motor and the ICE to drive the vehicle, and these two drive sources can be operated. They operate independently or together, depending on the model and the design of that model to actually drive those wheels. The battery pack in a hybrid is only charged by the internal combustion engine, while a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle adds a plug, a cord setup, and a much larger battery typically. It can also be charged through the electric grid. And hybrids typically have smaller batteries than the BEV version, the total electric version, and use less expensive nickel metal hydride battery technology. And the electric range is typically much below a BEV as well. Hybrid examples are a Ford Fusion, the Honda Accord hybrid. Plug-in hybrid examples, you've got the Subaru Crosstrek hybrid, the Honda Clarity, Mitsubishi Outlander, a few examples. Okay, next. The next category, and there really aren't too many of these around, but it's an important group, extended range hybrid electric vehicles. They operate like electric-only BEV, but with the addition of an internal combustion engine. And the smaller, the gas engine, it charges the battery. That's all it does, and that powers the electric motor that turns the wheels. And unlike other hybrids, that gasoline engine never actually directly drives the wheels. The electric-only range is typically around 100 miles or so, and it might be a little more. And then with the battery alone, and with the range extender, they can about double that mileage. And the Chevy Volt was an example of this. Volt with a V. They have the Chevy Volt now with a B. That's the newer all-electric version. But the Chevy Volt was out, and it was this configuration. And the other one that's still on the market and very popular is the BMW i3. And we actually have one of our panelists, Eric George, is going to speak on that in a little while. Interesting vehicle, though. Okay, next slide. What you'll see, this graphic actually represents the various plugs that you see on EVs. On the left side, you've got the J1772, and that's the standard for level 2 connectors in the United States. The next one to the right is a Shademo, and it's used by Nissan and Mitsubishi, and those three to the right are all the level 3 chargers as well. But Nissan actually uses the Shademo right now, but they're moving away from that and going to the CCS in their upcoming models. The CCS version is used by all other makers except Tesla, which has a proprietary plug. And if you look closely at the J1772 over on the left, and that's the level 2 charging, you'll notice that the top portion of the CCS connector is identical to the J1772, and that portion is what's used for the level 2 charging with the CCS, and it is also used in conjunction with the bottom part of that connector when charging at the level 3 DC fast charger. The next slide, please. There are 3 levels of charging, basically. Level 1 is just, it is simply just using the plug at your home. You can get about 5 miles per hour of charging. If you haven't heard that term before, that's the charge rate of a vehicle. They measure that in miles per hour that it's plugged into the charger. Level 2 is usually about 20 to 30 miles, and typically with a 7 kW setup, you'll get about 25 miles of charge rate. And that actually has a standard 1450 NEMA range plug, same thing that you use for your range, or you can use a dryer plug as well. But the level 3 DC fast charger is much, much faster. It's up to about 120 miles in maybe 20 minutes. But that's based on the current on the vehicle and the technology in that particular vehicle. But some of those can charge at very fast rates. But again, the level 1 and level 2 are actually alternating current chargers, and they send that energy to the vehicle, and the actual charging charger for that vehicle is actually on board the vehicle. With the DC fast charging, the level 3, that provides direct current into the vehicle's battery, and the charger on that one is actually located off board of the vehicle. But the nice thing about this is the cars have the computer technology on board that recognizes the type of charge that has been plugged in, and it knows how to respond to that charger. Okay, the next one, I want to just show you just very quickly a level 1 charger simply just plugs into the wall. Nothing else needs to happen. It is slow, though. It works very well, but it's very slow. You could be, you get about 5 miles per hour, but it might take you 24, 36 hours to charge a vehicle. It'll work, but it's not as fast. The level 2 charger, the next one, it uses a 240 plug, like I said earlier, similar to a range plug or a dryer plug. And you could just hook one up in your garage as this one is done, and you can get about 25 miles per hour charge rate at those typically. And then the level 3 charger, this picture is actually at an Electrify America site in South Louisiana. And these normally need 480 volt 3-phase electric service to bring power into the unit. And the charge rate's fast. It's 200, maybe 300 miles an hour. And the level 3 will typically charge a battery in about 80% in about 30 minutes. Once you get up above 80% on any battery, 80, 90% level, the charge rate slows down a fair amount. So a lot of times EV owners will just charge up to, around 80 and then head off down the road headed for another charger if they're traveling. You might ask, well, okay, I know what the chargers are, but what if I'm out looking for one? There's an app for everything. And there's also several apps out there to help you find chargers for your vehicle. There are plenty of apps available online. Some of them, these listed here, are free. Others have a charge, but also the nice thing, most vehicles now have software built into the car and an app available with the vehicle that you purchase as well that helps you do the same thing, help you find a charger. Use the example of the ChargeWay app. A driver just enters a specific EV, and the app looks for and only shows the charging locations that fit that particular vehicle. And most apps can even let you know if the charging station is being used or if it's down for repairs or something like that. But you can see the graphics are kind of nice. And here's just a little closer up. And again, just using the ChargeWay app as an example. The others are similar to this as well. But on the left, there's a Tesla Model S and the chargers that it will fit in. And in the middle is a Nissan Leaf, and on the right is the Audi E-Tron. And the numbers inside those in the ChargeWay example actually denote how fast that particular charger is. The higher the number, the faster. Next slide. Now, we seem like all of us, when we first begin to learn about EVs, there's an issue of range anxiety. We want to be assured that there is a charging station very close to me, and I want to be able to charge very quickly. And that's all well and fine. But the DC fast chargers out on the highway, and that infrastructure is building. It's not where it needs to be, but it is in pretty good shape, and you can travel with a little bit of forethought. But the vast majority of charging is not done out on the highway like that. According to energy.gov, 80% of EV charging is done at home. And really all an EV owner needs is a level 2 charger, and that's really all they need. And they can charge, it's very convenient. They can charge while you're at home, typically at night. General Motors estimates that the annual energy use of a Chevy Volt is about 2,500 kilowatt hours in a year, which is less than required for a typical water heater. And at 2,500 kilowatt hours in a year, if you were looking at 11 cents a kilowatt hour, that's about $270 a year, or maybe $23 a month to keep that vehicle charged. Let's go to the next slide. Benefits of an electric car. There are several, and they are real. Lower fuel costs. We talked about that a little bit. Eco-friendly. They are better for the environment. Less maintenance is a big one. Some people kind of look past, and really the performance. I put a smiley face on this near the performance because these things really are a lot of fun. They're fun to drive. Even the smaller vehicles, it's amazing the performance that you can get out of. And we're going to talk about each one of these very quickly. Next slide, please. This slide is actually page 303 out of the 2020 Chevy Volt maintenance manual. And I know the writing is a little small there, but if I'll try to touch on a couple of these. They want you to rotate your tires every 7,500 miles, replace passenger compartment air filter, 22,500 miles. There's some coolant in the motor. They want you to drain and fill that at 150,000 miles or 5 years. Brake fluid every 5 years. And then it goes on, windshield wiper blade, replace hood support struts at 150,000 miles, air conditioning maintenance every 7 years. My point to this is if you will compare this to your gasoline engine, there really is very little comparison at all. There's not much to maintain on these. Electric motor has one moving part, and there's just not a lot to wear out. The batteries are lasting much, much longer, and a lot of them have a 100,000-mile warranty on the batteries now. So that's really an issue, a concern. That's really not even an issue any longer. One thing that's not listed on here are replacing brakes. Brakes tend to last a lot longer on an EV, and you might ask yourself why. Let's go to the next slide. But because electric cars have regenerative braking. Electric motors, when used in reverse, function as generators, and they convert mechanical energy into electrical energy. And it's the same system that drives the vehicle does the majority of the braking. So when the driver steps on the brake pedal of an electric or hybrid vehicle, much of the braking comes from the electric motor itself, which has been controlled electronically to actually be switched into a reverse mode, causing it to run backwards, and that friction slows the car down. But the benefit, when that thing's running backwards and that motor turns backwards, it actually turns into a generator. And it produces some electricity, and that is then fed back into the vehicle's batteries. It's just a nice added benefit that electric vehicles have, and really all of the cars take advantage of it. Okay, next slide. Eco-friendly. We wanted to touch on that just a bit. If you look at this map, you'll notice that in each of these regional transmission organization (RTO) areas, which are the groups that control the flow of energy around the country, the MPG shown, that represents the miles per gallon that a gasoline vehicle, an ICE vehicle, would need to achieve to have the same overall emissions impact as an EV. You'll notice Texas is fairly easy to see there. It says 89 miles per gallon. So you would need to drive a gasoline vehicle that would get 89 miles per gallon to have the same environmental impact. And as generation fleets move toward more renewable resources, these numbers are going to go higher. And this slide was from 2018. That's the latest one I could find updated there. But this one is from energy.gov as well. Performance. We talked about this a little bit before. The instant torque and the very quiet acceleration that seemed to appeal to just about everyone I have seen in electric vehicles. And there are extremes. I mean, you've got cars like the Nissan Leaf that are not really a sports car, but then you go all the way up to the higher end Teslas and the Porsche Taycan. Just incredible amount of torque, and you can't help but smile when you experience that. It's very very unique to electric motor. I mean, drag racers, gasoline, high-powered vehicles, they even, very high horsepower gasoline engines, it takes some time to get the torque. At the beginning of the acceleration curve, the torque is just not available. It has to come after the RPMs build up enough. That's not that way with an electric motor. You may not realize, but freight trains that we see driven around all the time through our cities and through the country, they have a big diesel engine, but they're driven by electric motors. The diesel engine, all it does is runs a generator that sends electricity to the drive motors. And trains have been doing this for a very long time. And the reason they do it, the instant torque from that electric motor it's really the only good way to get that huge, very heavy train to begin to move. They figured that out a long time ago, and it works very well. Next slide, please. We talked about lower fuel costs. This is from energy.gov. It's a small little calculator they have. You can enter the state that you live in. I put Louisiana in here, and it says the average gasoline price is $1.89 right now. And what this calculator tells you, it says that an equivalent e-gallon cost would be 86 cents. And what that's saying is for them to cost the same to operate, and a gasoline engine would need to be able to take 86-cent gasoline to be able to operate as inexpensively as an electric vehicle. And this takes into account electric rates as well. But if you're driving an electric vehicle, again, the gas would need to be priced about 86 cents. That's what this little calculator is telling you. Okay. Financial incentives. You know, for SWEPCO customers in Louisiana and Texas, our customers are eligible for a $250 SWEPCO rebate on installation of Energy Star Level 2 charging stations at their home, and all SWEPCO employees and customers are eligible for a Nissan rebate of up to $3,500 on the Nissan Leaf. We've partnered with Nissan, and they've been generously offering that for some time now. Available in all states. The amount of this is dependent on the specific vehicle, but federal incentive up to $7,500. And I believe that just about every vehicle outside of Tesla still qualifies for those, and it's linked to the number of vehicles sold, and at a point those incentives disappear. But you can check the website and see which cars are still available, and most are, and all of the new models. Most of the new models are outside of Tesla because they sold quite a few vehicles. In Louisiana, there's a tax credit of 10% of the vehicle cost, and that's up to $2,500. And in Texas, there's a light-duty motor vehicle purchase or lease program up to $2,500. And that one is actually not a tax incentive, but it's paid more like a rebate. But the other are tax incentives. And I believe we are at the end of that, and entertain any questions. I know I went through that very quickly. Hope it didn't bore those that are very knowledgeable about this, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions for Jeff into the Q&A box or chat box in your control panel. I've got a few notifications. So here's a question from David. Is there any approximate cost on the level 2 charger?
That's a good question. And I'm assuming you're talking about the cost to purchase the chargers. There are quite a few companies that offer those, and you can literally get them for less than $200. Most will typically, the more brand names will typically be about $500 and up, and you can spend $2,000 or $3,000 if you wanted to. And there are some that have more Wi-Fi capability. You could literally put one outside your house and you use it, but you could have it set up to take credit cards from other people to use it. I mean, there are a lot of them on the market, but you can get, I would say that around the $400 to $500 range, there are several available.
And then you did mention the SWEPCO rebate for Louisiana and Texas customers on level 2 charging stations?
Yes, there's a $250 rebate from SWEPCO for Louisiana and Texas customers. So it's very simple to, if you follow that link that we provided in the presentation, it'll take you to our site. It's very simple to get that rebate, and it just is proof of purchase of the equipment, the installation.
And then we have another question from George. Who installs the level 2 chargers in Shreveport?
Well, I mean, we would recommend a certified electrician. We do not have printed list of people that install those. It's a fairly simple installation. At a home, you're looking at basically installing another outlet for like electric range. You would typically have to have capacity in your breaker panel for a 40 amp, 30 amp, or 40 amp breaker, and then run the wire to the location, and then install the NEMA 1450 typically is what people use, the type plug that electric range fits in. As a matter of fact, that's the same plug that RVs use at RV parks. So depending on your situation, it wouldn't take much at all, but we would recommend a certified electrician. There are plenty of those around.
And then we've got one more question. When you were looking at financial incentives, did you see any specific rebates or incentives for higher education or the Department of Defense?
You know, that's a good question. I have not seen that. I would anticipate that type of thing coming, but I have not seen it. You're going to cause me to go try to research and find that, because I actually have not thought about that. But I believe you're going to see a lot more opportunities for education in the public, and but I have not seen that yet personally.
Perfect. So it looks like we've covered all of our questions. Jeff, is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up this portion of the event?
Well, I want, for those of you that are familiar with EVs, you know this already, but it is an excellent option for transportation. Some people have range anxiety, and now if you are buying a vehicle for long distance travel, you'd need to get one with a higher battery capacity. And then on those trips, you just need to kind of plan a little bit more than what you might be planning now about where to stop for fuel in a gas car. But in reality, most of our driving is just around home. I think the average person drives less than 40 miles in the United States. Average driver drives less than 40 miles in a day in the daily commute. So anyone driving under 100 miles a day, there are really a lot of options out, and you can just come home and plug the thing in at night, and the range anxiety is really not an issue, especially if you are looking at a commuter type vehicle. Very inexpensive, like I say, a lot of fun, and I think that if you go and drive a vehicle, you will be sold on it. I really do. I think you'll be sold on the technology. That's really all I have.
That is the perfect segue into our next section. So I'd like to give a special thank you to Porsche Shreveport and Audi Shreveport for hosting us at their dealership and allowing us to film an interview with Gary Washington, one of their internet sales managers, as well as a test drive. So here is the interview with Gary. And here we've got a video of the virtual test drive. So I am getting feedback that not everybody could hear those videos. If you had called into this event, the video audio was shared through the computer, but I will be posting both of these videos to SWEPCO's YouTube channel. We've got an electric vehicles playlist, so please go check those out there. So now that we've had the opportunity to see an electric vehicle and hear from a dealership representative, I'd like us to hear from and ask questions of electric vehicle owners. And again, as a reminder, please type your questions into the Q&A box or chat box in your control panel. So today we are joined by Dr. Terry Trumwell, who lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and drives a Tesla Model 3. Lorraine and Jonathan Gunn, who live in Benton, Louisiana, and drive a Tesla Model S. Antonio Zavarche, who lives in Shreveport, Louisiana, and drives an Audi E-Tron. And Eric George, who lives in Longview, Texas, and drives a BMW i3. Finally, Jeff Bigpen, who will be moderating this panel discussion, has been driving a Nissan Leaf, one of SWEPCO's newest fleet vehicles. So, Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you to the panelists that are here. You know, it's exciting to talk to people that have EVs. They're excited about them, and we'll be going through each of them. Let me start this off a little bit with, you know, SWEPCO has purchased a few Nissan Leafs and some other vehicles as well. But in looking for pool cars for our customer services department, our group chose a Leaf for a few reasons. It meets all our needs. It can carry 4 adults comfortably. You know, it saves the company money, and as opposed to our employees driving their vehicles and getting reimbursed for mileage. But it's also providing a learning platform for us to build upon as we move into the future. And speaking of SWEPCO, which is one of the companies with parent company of American Electric Power, which yesterday announced that we are accelerating our electric vehicle purchases our time frame on that with a goal of replacing 100% of our 2,300 cars and light-duty trucks with EV alternatives by 2030. That was just announced yesterday. I was proud of the company for taking that leap. AEP's total fleet is composed of about 8,000 vehicles, including medium and heavy-duty vehicles. But by converting if once we do convert the medium and heavy-duty vehicles as electric or hybrid models become available, AEP is on track to achieve its goal of electrifying 40% of its entire on-road vehicle fleet in less than 10 years, and that's pretty ambitious, and I'm proud of them for that. But we did choose the Nissan Leaf, and it's been a good car, and it serves our purpose as well. And I wanted to kind of bounce around here and just kind of ask these panelists that we have about their vehicles. Dr. Trumwell, you've got the Tesla Model 3. What made you select that particular vehicle, and can you kind of tell us how it fits fits in your life and fulfills your needs?
Well, let's see. My wife and I have had Volts since 2011. The Volt with the V, and when I've been teaching a class in sustainability since 2007, so I've been a fan of Tesla, but just never wanted to spend the money for the Model S. And the Model 3 was coming out, and I was on the waiting list and had the opportunity to go up to Kansas City and pick ours up. And yeah.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely, we have. It's smooth, it's quiet, and I don't have to go to the gas station ever.
That's nice. Lorraine and Jonathan, you've also got a Tesla. Tell us about it.
Yes, we got the Model S long range. We're both retired, so we enjoy traveling. This will give us the opportunity to spend more time on the road. And like the doctor said, you don't have to worry about stopping at a gas station. With COVID going on, I do have a fear of what's on the pumps, but I understand we will touch devices, electrical devices, but you still have your own that you would plug into it. So I just like the idea of the smooth ride because I traded in for, I substituted for the 5 Series BMW. So I've always been a BMW fan. That's my car since '97. And the smooth ride, it still gives me the quietness. The 4-year, 50,000-mile warranty is really a seller for me because for me, if I don't have to spend any money for 4 years on a vehicle, that's a lifesaver all by itself. The battery, from my understanding, you can get it between 300 to 500,000 miles on it, so that's the most expensive part of the vehicle. So I'm looking at my return on this vehicle within the next few years.
Jonathan, let me ask you a question. Do you ever get to drive it?
That's a good question, Jeffrey.
I can just see she's taking that for her own, and she might not let you near it.
She allows me to drive it every so often. And when I do, of course, the main thing I love about it is the performance. It's unimaginable, just like you said, just driving it and being on the interstate, 5 o'clock traffic, just getting on, the interstate, whatever. I mean, it just zooms in and out, just quiet. So I love that. The features on it. I drive a 5 Series, a 6 Series Beamer, so, I'm always flip-flopping over from gas to electrics, and so it's a big difference. I love both of them, but
it's a kick in the pants, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Antonio, now you've got the Audi E-Tron. Can you tell us why you chose that vehicle? And you had an interesting comment when we spoke the other day about your job in the car, about how you use it in your job.
Yes, actually. So I'm a real estate agent, and I drive approximately 4,000 miles a month. And so I selected this vehicle because not obviously for its comfort and luxury that Audi provides, but also because it was a no-brainer when it came to terms of like how much it would actually cost me to drive those many miles a month on top of what it would cost to service an Audi, you know? And so it came out to be a complete no-brainer. As a matter of fact, it is my only source of transportation. I don't have an internal combustion engine backup vehicle or anything like that. Now this vehicle does everything for me and more.
Fantastic. That's a beautiful car as well. Eric, you've got the BMW i3. I am really intrigued with this vehicle. Can you share with us kind of what made you pick that as your EV and kind of how that's working out for you? I've got you muted there, Eric.
Yes, I chose an EV because I was looking for a vehicle to save money for my commute between work and home. And the EV, compared to my truck, was about 1/3 the cost of the savings that I was getting. And also, it would lower my carbon footprint on the planet.
Now, that car, what's the size of that car? It's just the physical size of it. Can you talk to me about that and kind of how that's worked for you?
It's a compact vehicle, but it holds 4 people very comfortably. It's very quick. Like you say, it's instant torque. It accelerates very fast. Matter of fact, I think it's 0 to 60 in like 5 seconds. Just pretty fast for a vehicle that size.
Now, we're gonna just as we're on you, we're gonna flip to another question here. How do you charge your vehicle?
I have a portable level 2 charger that I charge at work with a 1450 receptacle, which is like an RV plug or a washer and dryer plug. And I also have the same setup at home where I do the same thing.
And that works. Do you charge yours much on the highway? Do you go to a DC fast charger very often?
My sister lives in Fort Worth, and when I go to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I use level 3 chargers a lot.
Well, good. Dr. Trumwell, back to you on that same question. How do you typically charge your vehicle? Do you do that at a place away from home, or is it mostly at home?
It's mostly at home. We have a level 2 charger at home and 6 places to plug in because when we built our house, we wanted extra for guests that might come. We've used the superchargers a couple of times. Yes.
Did you say you have 6 charging locations at home? Wow.
6 places to plug in at 50 amp circuits. So that's effectively a 40 amp charge because part of the 1773 is to calculate what the amperage available is and only use 80%.
We need to list you on our map when we're up near there. We're just going to go by Dr. Trumwell's house and plug in.
Yeah, we've got 4 outside.
Yeah. Fantastic. Antonio, what do you do for charging? Is it typically at home?
I have a charger here at home, a level 2 charger at home, and that's literally it. And I wake up every morning and my vehicle is topped off, and I just go on about my day, and then I come home, I charge, and the cycle repeats. And then when I need to travel, all the charging stations that I need fast charging stations that I need are readily available, and with the high speed of charging that the E-Tron has, it's literally like not an inconvenience at all. It's just
You recently took a trip east, correct? Where did you go? You took a pretty long trip.
I did a 1,800 mile round trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I did it on the Audi E-Tron, and the charging stations that I used were all the ones that Electrify America has. They were all conveniently located. As a matter of fact, the length of time driving was exactly the same amount of time that it would have taken an internal combustion engine, because of the simple reason that you're not going to be sitting in your vehicle for 16 hours straight. You're going to get out, have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and some restroom breaks in between, and I coordinated my charging along that. So it was exactly the same thing.
Fantastic. And that's proof positive. You can take a trip. You have to do a little more planning. You have to look ahead a little bit, but it's completely possible and within range of what you can do. Lorraine and Jonathan, can you tell us about your charging habits and what you like to do and kind of where you mostly charge your vehicle?
Jeff, yes, we normally charge our at home. We hadn't taken the opportunity to take it on a trip yet, so we're looking forward to doing that within the next couple of weeks. But 90% of our charging is at home, and of course, Shreveport Bossier is not like a big Houston or Dallas, so we usually top it off once a week.
And that works out well for you.
Yes, it does.
Have you traveled in yours at all?
Not yet. We're looking at going to Georgia, and from the looks of it, we'll have to make a stop. The first stop will be in Monroe, and that's for a 5-minute stop just to top it off to get you to Pearl, Mississippi. And so It's more, it'll tell you where to stop at, how long it's going to take, and like Antonio said, that's the time when you're going to take your restroom break, your eating break, and they're showing it's going to take a little bit longer than what we normally take to get to Georgia, but another extra 2 hours, but I don't believe it's going to take that.
Yeah, good. Dr. Trumwell, where did you purchase your Tesla?
Tesla's, well, we ordered it online and picked it up in Kansas City. They have a delivery service also. And the superchargers, I was just checking this morning, there's 900 superchargers nationwide for Tesla. Plus, you've got an adapter that can adapt a 1773 plug to use. So you've got both the Electrify America network or ChargePoint and the Tesla proprietary network superchargers.
Right. Now that's a good point. Tesla does provide an adapter for the J1772, the level 2 chargers, but there really aren't. I'm beginning to hear that there's some adapters available, but I'm not sure if they'll work well. I'm pretty sure they won't work at the superchargers. Going from the non-Tesla, trying to use one of the Tesla chargers, I think the superchargers actually have logic that recognizes a Tesla and will only turn on for a Tesla. Can't verify that for sure, but I believe that's correct. Let's see here, Lorraine and Jonathan, you've got a Tesla also. Did you order yours and go pick it up, or they also have the delivery as well, don't they?
We ordered. We went online. We built the car, and Tesla delivered it to the house because the nearest Tesla's location would be in Tyler, and because we're so far away from that, they brought it to the front door.
Was that an easy experience?
They load them up on a large semi truck and unload them. You inspect your vehicle. If you have any problems or anything like that, they have put a Tesla place right here in Bossier, which is over there by Red River Chevrolet, and any discrepancies or anything like that, they can take care of it for Tesla.
Okay, good. Eric, how did you purchase yours? And this is not your first one either, is it, Eric? Still out there, Eric?
Yeah, actually, this is my second EV, but the one I'm currently driving, I purchased it. It's actually a used vehicle, and I purchased it at BMW Dallas at just a regular dealership.
Okay. And that was, and you found that online probably before you went to look at it?
I did.
Antonio, how did you do yours? Was that a local purchase or?
Yeah, it is. Actually, I just went online and I searched for I wanted an electric SUV, and after test driving all the ones that were available, I saw that their Audi Shreveport had a couple, and I went in there and bought it and walked away in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, got you here, Antonio. This is kind of one of those open-ended questions. Not sure what we're going to get, but what do you like most about your Audi E-Tron?
Well, there's a little things that people don't know much about them. Primarily, what I like about my E-Tron is that I am able to have a towing capacity of up to 4,000 pounds, and that may sound like a little, but actually it's plenty for what it is that I need. I like to travel to state parks, and I also have a company in which I purchase and remodel properties and sell them. So from time to time, I am in need of like using a trailer to like tow materials to that home. The E-Tron fulfills that. Speaking of going to state parks, the E-Tron it's able to raise its ride height to approximately a tad over 9 inches. So I am able to go mildly off-road when I'm going to the state parks and whatnot. And then pair all of this with luxury that these vehicles provide, and it's just a very serene place to be in.
Nice. Eric, what do you like most about your BMW?
The saving on fuels, the instant torque, and I like the looks I get from other people when they're driving by and look at my vehicle. It's very unique compared to other vehicles. Yes.
Yeah. Lorraine and Jonathan, what do you like most about that Model S? I think I heard what Jonathan likes. Jonathan likes to get out there and let it sing, right? Let it run.
I like the idea that Elon he made it where over-the-air updates, so you don't have to wonder if there's any updates or anything like that. They just automatically are pushed to you, and you see it on your phone. You can do it at that time, or you can wait till that night because you can't do the updates and drive at the same time. So you just tell it, schedules and say, hey, 2 o'clock in the morning, run that update. They usually take about 20, 30 minutes. I like the idea at nighttime when you're driving it, the light automatically will dim as it approaches vehicles because we're out here in Benton, so it's in the country, kind of like in the country, and then the lights will brighten back up. You don't have to worry about turning your bright lights on and off. You can charge it from home, and it can seat 5 adults very comfortable. 3 in the back, because you don't have that hump in the back that's in the middle or anything, so the whole floor is just level. And it has a 17-inch screen, so the grandkids think I am the best grandmother in the world because we can watch movies in the car. Not while driving, though.
Now, Jonathan, when you're able to sneak off in it, what is your favorite part of the car?
Oh, wait a minute. Sneak off? Let me explain something. There is a device on there that can control Mr. Jonathan can't go more than 50 miles an hour either, okay? I can just tap on the phone, and he's not going to go very fast, okay?
Oh. Well, that's the answer to that, Jeff. She controls it. Most of the time, I'm just a passenger.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you like most about the car? Is it the performance? I think you said that earlier.
Yeah, like I said, that's a pet peeve of mine is the performance. It's very quiet. And just like I said, when I'm transitioning from my car to her car, I have to really adjust my response and everything else because it is so fast and yet quiet, and that's what scares you because you don't hear any sounds around you, and it just moves. So.
Yeah, but there's that smile. I put that little smiley face in my presentation, and That's it right there. I see it. Dr. Trumwell, what do you like most about your EV?
Yeah, that's called the Tesla smile. The over-the-air updating is great. They improved the acceleration in a recent update, and I could improve it even more if I wanted to pay a little extra. But it's just hard to describe how you think of speed and you're at it. It's just that quick. 4.4 seconds from 0 to 60, because I don't have the performance version, but it's plenty fast. Yeah. It just accelerates faster than you can ever imagine. And it's smooth.
Yeah. Eric, what's your favorite part about the BMW?
Like I said, I love getting the looks from people when I drive by. The instant torque is very quiet, smooth ride. I just love everything about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I apologize. I think I asked you that at the beginning already. To feed off of that, you get looks from people. What is your driving experience with the electric vehicle around where you're at? I mean, you might get some looks at stoplights, but what else is a little different about kind of living with an EV? Is there anything different?
I get a lot of questions. Like, people will stop you and ask you questions: how you charge it, how long does it take, how far can you go, and it's a conversation piece.
Antonio, what have you experienced with your vehicle as your E-Tron as you travel around?
Actually, nothing, which has been wonderful. So Audi decided that they were going to design an Audi, that they were not going to be designing something that looked like a spaceship or whatever. Although it does have sounds, it does sound like a spaceship. You do get that sound when you're in a parking lot. But other than that, honestly, the most surprising thing has been when to my clients, it's like, towards the end of a transaction, they always make a comment about the vehicle. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry, we drove you around so much and we went and we saw 40 houses and blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry for the gas. And at that point, and it happens every time. And at that point, it's when I say, no, the only thing I spent was my time, because this is actually a 100% electric vehicle. And they're like, what, that Audi? And I'm like, yes, this vehicle is 100% electric. And they said, it looks so normal and it just looks like an SUV and it just looks very nice. And I said, yep, they're just here to replace your regular internal combustion engine vehicle. They're ready for prime time.
Yeah. Lorraine and Jonathan, have you guys experienced anything that you've noticed a little different? I mean, you said you had the BMWs, you had those for a while, so those are attractive vehicles as well. But is there anything different with the electric?
Yes. The biggest question that's asked to me always is, well, what happens when the battery runs down? And so I say, what happens when you run out of gas? It's the same concept. Yeah. In other words, if you watch your gas hand and it goes to E and you keep driving, it's going to stop. Well, that's the same with this. If you keep watching it and it tells you need to go charge up and you keep going, well, then now you're going to have to get someone to tow it in, and you just find an electrical outlet and plug it up. Now, if you go to someone's house where it's just your regular 120, it's going to take you a couple of days to charge it up, but you don't want to get yourself in that position. So it's just like driving a gas-driven car. You don't want to get yourself in a position where you're going to run out of fuel or anything. So you just have to pay attention, watch your screen, and keep your eye on your levels. I never allow my gas vehicles to get more than a fourth of the tank low, so I would do the same here. When I get to that 25% area, it's time for it to be charged up. Simple as that. So, and then I because it has the dash cam, I'll go back just because it'll show me that someone came close to the vehicle. So I'll go back and I'll review the dash cam, and it's normally going to be someone that's looking at it, gawking at it, and you can tell they're trying to figure out what in the world is this, because in Shreveport, Bossier, it's not a whole lot of the Teslas around anyway. And
Yes,
so you can just see the expression on their face, about to run into something like, what in the world is that?
Well, while I've got you here, what are your personal thoughts on owning and driving an electric vehicle? I mean, you seem excited about it, but what did it prove any preconceptions? Did it prove any of those wrong, or did you come away after you actually owned it? Did you come away with some new thoughts or perspectives?
Well, Jeff, I came away with several new thoughts of it. Prior to us, prior to us buying it, we had test driven a couple of them in Houston and in Dallas. And as I was telling Chelsea, when I once drove it, I was just startled because I wasn't ready for the big P, the power. And in Houston traffic, it was just I was actually scared. I had to put both hands on the steering wheel. So that was one of the things that I didn't realize that the electric car had such great torque and power. So yeah, here again, I've been sold on that ever since.
Now, what was your original reason to begin to even consider an EV? What were your original thoughts when you began to consider a car?
Well, I was looking at a lot of YouTubes, and I've seen Tesla. I always kept up with Elon and his innovations of stuff. And so I was curious, and like I said, when we traveled to Dallas and Houston, and we were in the malls, and we seen a Tesla. So, bam, it's like, okay, let's go. You know, that's Elon. You see Tesla, you see Elon. Right. So let's go. So we went over there and we got information, and then the guy set us up for a test drive, and then he really stole my wife when he said you can summon it at a mall, and her eyes just perked up. He's like, you can? And so when he demonstrated to us how it works, she was gone.
Yes, the summons feature is a great feature. I mean, because a lot of us women, we go shopping, and when you're in the mall for about 6-7 hours, you forgot where you parked at. You can twerk your little key all day long, but if it's a big mall, you're not going to hear where your vehicle is. But with the summons, you just summons your car to you, and it's going to come to you. But now you have to realize if something happens between there, you are responsible for that still. So there, that it has its pros and cons on that. But I do like the idea. It'll find me. Or if I'm at church and it's raining, I can hit the summons and it can come to the front door and pick me up, and I don't have to run out in the rain.
That's awesome. Dr. Trumwell, just your personal thoughts. I mean, you've owned EVs for some time, a couple of different models. What are your personal thoughts on owning and driving your electric vehicle?
Well, it's emission free. You know, if you leave it in the garage and have the garage door down, there's still no danger because there's no emissions. So yeah, the emission free part and much less carbon emissions in particular.
Right. Excellent. Antonio, what are your thoughts just on the idea of driving electric? I know that you were telling about your home is all electric, and just what are your thoughts on the vehicle itself, on living with one?
It is a far superior product, and honestly, I'm still shocked that people at this point have not just randomly decided to just switch. Little bit of a background to that. Before the many Model Ts of the world, there were the Baker electric vehicles. Those were the primary and the most popular vehicle in the United States, and they had semi-reliable infrastructure. And so before we had internal combustion engines, we had electric vehicles en masse. So what ended up happening is that basically because of the cost of gas and cost of having a battery, I guess, one thing won over the other. But that does not mean that an internal combustion engine somehow proves or gives you better performance, and that is abundantly false. Like it's not there. It's very interesting that in the past decade or so, we have had these electric vehicles give us such an intense level of performance, and it has just been on the market about 10 years. But we have had internal combustion engines for over 100 years, and those things are basically reached their peak performance. That's it. That's all you're going to get. And so pair all of that with like the cost of like keeping it, maintaining that internal combustion engine, and it just doesn't make sense. But we have all been indoctrinated into thinking that this is something that it's normal. It's normal to go put gas in your car. It's normal that you have to do oil changes. It's normal that you have to work on your transmission. And it's just things that are normal, and it's just expenses that are there. When in reality, you don't have to have that. All of that can be completely 100% gone, and you are literally driving a far superior vehicle. Any electric vehicle in its class is far superior than its internal combustion engine counterpart. Point blank. A Nissan Leaf is going to be much better than a Nissan Versa.
Thank you. Eric, just your personal thoughts on living with your i3.
Yeah, personally, I don't think I will ever buy another internal combustible engine. I actually have a deposit on the Tesla Cybertruck, so I'll be excited when the new trucks start coming out.
Oh, nice. What are they telling you on a time frame on that?
They say late 2022, but okay. Elon Musk, he exaggerates, so.
Yeah, but when he finally delivers it, it's going to be a quality product, no doubt. Well, we've kind of worked through the questions that we have. I would like to give each of you, of the panelists, an opportunity just to, if something I haven't covered, or if I cut you short on an answer or a response, if you would like to add something now. I'll just, from my screen, I'll just start with Antonio first and work to the left. Antonio?
Yes, we have had a few.
Pardon me?
We have had a few questions come in for attendees. Do you want to answer those first before we do a final thought?
Let's do that. Let's do that. I'm sorry. I didn't know we had questions come in. Sure.
So, have you had any surprise expenses for maintenance or any other issues with your electric vehicle that have caught you off guard?
Okay. Do you want me to go on those questions? We've sent just a couple of them, and I think it would be cool if all of us answer in our own way based on what our experience has been. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So let's see here. What was the first question again?
So if you've had any unexpected expenses for maintenance or any other issues that caught you off guard?
No. And a little bit of a backstory. I have owned every single Mercedes-Benz vehicle that they have had from up to 2013, from the C-Class to the GL450, and also recently, a couple of years back, another member of my household had a Genesis G80, which is Hyundai's luxury arm vehicle. And no, like everything has been literally just like rope. I had to change the tires when I had the Volt back then and replace the wipers and the cabin air filter. That was the only expense that I had to do with that vehicle, and I drove that vehicle 100,000 miles. And then with the E-Tron, I've had it since May, and I have about 12,000 miles on it. I literally haven't had to do anything to it. Nothing. And then there was that other question.
How does your car insurance cost for your electric vehicle, for your E-Tron versus your Mercedes?
Love that question because I actually got a chance to witness it. Insurance my E-Tron and my Bolt, right? Not at the same time, but when I had the Bolt, it was actually vastly cheaper than insuring any of my Mercedes-Benz or even the Genesis G80. And now the E-Tron is still cheaper than any of the Mercedes-Benz and the G80 when I had that before. And no, I never had anything on my record then that I would have now or anything like that. No, it has been the same record, the same traffic record, the same no accident record, nothing. And by the way, it has been like with the same company.
Perfect. Kind of on that same vein, if we'll pop over to Eric, any unexpected expenses, maintenance issues, and then what's the comparison on your insurance for your BMW versus gas vehicles?
Like Antonio, the only expenses I've had was just changing tires and like air filters. There's no oil changes. There's no fluids in the car at all. As far as the insurance, is very comparable to my pickup, so there's no difference.
Perfect. Dr. Trumwell?
Yeah, there's no. It's been cheaper, and in fact, the car monitors all around you and avoids accidents. So it's actually cheaper for insurance. I see a question about fully charging the battery. And yeah, it's true that you probably want to keep to no more than an 80% charge around town. But that would go 246 miles in my case. And when you're going to go on a long trip, you have the option to fully charge.
Thank you. And I'll pass this over to the Guns. I think that they have some insight to share about whether or not you want to fully charge a battery, but then also Lorraine and Jonathan, if you'll talk about any unexpected expenses and cost comparisons with insurance.
Well, with ours, we just purchased the car probably about almost 4 months ago, so we have not incurred any extra anything before purchasing, and I've always done this here. We're both retired Air Force, so it's always you're gonna check and investigate things before you do it. And so when I look to say what's the difference between my insurance, because I was driving the 5 Series BMW, he's driving the 6 Series BMW. When you look and say, okay, the 2014 BMW versus a 2020 car, the insurance is a little bit higher, but if I would have went and got a 2020 BMW, then we're still looking at basically the same thing for insurance. So if the insurance didn't run much more, the only reason why I did it is because the newer the vehicle, that's with any insurance company, the newer the vehicle, the more you're going to pay because it costs more to repair that vehicle when it's damaged in an accident or anything of that nature.
And then, Antonio, I see that you answered battery question.
I did. Would you like me to reinstate it?
I would love for that.
Yes. So you have to have a different mindset when you're driving electric, and there's certain things that you have to take care of. You take care of the car, and the car will take care of you. The battery is the heart and soul of the electric vehicle. So because of it's a lithium-ion plus battery, you need to make sure that you take care of it. These batteries do not like to be charged. The same batteries in your laptop and your cell phone, they do not like to be charged up to 100% and depleted to 0% constantly. You will damage the battery, just as you wouldn't be revving your transmission at 9,000 RPM constantly, because you will destroy that transmission. Same thing. So I charge my vehicle to 80% daily, and I never really go below 20. I always range about like 10, 15, but mostly 20, depending on how much it is that I have to drive. And then, like Dr. Trumwell said, if I am going on a long road trip, and I allow it to charge to 100%, so I have that there. But like 98% of the time, my vehicle's only charged to 80%. And that's in order to save the life of the battery, and in order for me to have as much range from my battery whenever I do need it.
Thank you. And Eric, did you have anything to add about how much you charge the battery of your BMW?
It's my understanding that even though you think you're charging the battery up to 100%, it's actually capped at around 80 or 90%, just for that reason, for damaging the battery. And also, if you deplete it, it actually has a little more buffer in there. It's like an extra 10% that you didn't go into.
Thank you. And it looks like we've got two more questions that we can kind of merge
Chelsea,
together.
just to add one little comment, I believe, most of the car manufacturers are warranting their batteries now to 100,000 miles. And some may be farther out than that even, but that's a typical warranty now. It's about 10 years and 100,000.
So the last two questions, and we'll start with you, Eric. How does the price of your BMW or a gas BMW, so I guess in your case it'll be your truck, compare to your electric vehicle? And did you purchase or lease your BMW?
Yes, I purchased my BMW used from a person who was turning in a lease. The BMW, given that it's a BMW, it is expensive to purchase when you buy it outright brand new. But I think it's very comparable to any other BMW of that size, like a BMW 3 Series or 4 Series. So it's very comparable to a combustible engine car. And what was the other question?
You answered it. Did you purchase or lease your vehicle? You purchased it. And then, Antonio, I'll ask those questions to you as well. How does the cost of your E-Tron compare to your previous gas Mercedes? And then do you own or lease your E-Tron?
I definitely own my E-Tron, and it literally costs the same. Prior to that, and actually, it was definitely cheaper than the GL that I had by about like $10,000. And it cost the same as the E-Class that I had. And it's in the same price range as other vehicles in its class. This is a luxury SUV, so it's exactly in the same price range as its counterparts.
Perfect. Lorraine and Jonathan?
What about, and you may have answered this, Antonio, but the gasoline cost versus the charging cost for your car?
Oh, yeah, like that's no brainer. There's approximately between $50 and $65 increase in my Sweco bill just for charging my E-Tron, and I don't know what other luxury SUV you will be able to drive 4,000 miles on and just like pay like $60 for. Like that's just not happening.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Chelsea.
I was going to ask Lorraine and Jonathan if they own or lease their Tesla, and since they do have a BMW at home, how the cost of your Tesla compares to that of your gas BMW.
The Tesla, for its approximate, is if we price a 5 Series BMW, it will probably be more than the Tesla S that we got. So we're actually saving more on that purchase. For its gas, just like Antonio said, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's no comparison to which over a 5-year span, it will really, you can really tell from that purchase of our S that was the best bargain.
And on that, because we have a long range, you can get now up to 402 miles on a charge on the long range. Originally, when it was purchased, it was 375, and so within the last couple of months, it went to 402. So that can get you a little bit further down the road before you have to hit a charging station. Thank you.
And Dr. Trumwell, I'll end with you. Do you own your Tesla Model 3, and how does it compare in price to gas equivalent?
We own the Model 3, and it starts at $35,000, and you build from there. You add on features as you like. So it's very reasonable. And recently, Elon talked about the Model 2 coming up in about 3 years. That'll be $25,000 base cost. I think one thing that I really appreciate about it the most is that there's no transmission. So there's no shifting, there's no delay. It's instantaneous. When you push the pedal, it goes. And there is no shifting at all. There's no downshifting. It's just perfectly smooth throughout the entire range of speed. And you can control, like Lorraine said, you can control the maximum speed that it can go. So that if you're worried about getting a ticket, I've got mine maxed out at 75 on the highway. I've got an all-electric house, like Antonio said, and we've got 52 solar panels, and so I don't pay for the electricity at all. It covers it under the net metering arrangement that we have with SWEPCO.
Well, thank you. And Jeff, I will turn it back to you to close out this panel discussion.
Okay. I would offer, if you've got any final parting comments that I might have skipped over or we didn't cover well enough, it'd be great to have those now. Antonio, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Yes. I think I've stated this throughout, but basically, electric vehicles are ready for prime time. They're not ready to be your secondary vehicle or the vehicle that you drive around town in. They're ready to be your main vehicle, the vehicle that you go on family vacations with, the vehicle that you go to work with, and do all of those things together, So they're here, and if you like money, if you like saving money, and if you hate just sitting at the dealership or just coming up with unexpected mechanical problems that are common with internal combustion engines, why don't you just go ahead and give electric vehicles a try? It's in your best interest. You will be happy.
Thank you for that. Eric, anything that you would like to add to our discussion today?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Dr. Trumwell, was anything else you would like to add?
I thought of something, but now I've blanked out, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Lorraine and Jonathan, one last opportunity here.
Mine is, I just fell in love with Tesla. I mean, I really did. And one of the other features it has on it is you know where your vehicle is at all times, so it's less likely to get stolen. It's going to tell you exactly where it is. So if Mr. Gunn drives it somewhere, I know where he's at. Okay? I don't even have to call and ask. I know always where that vehicle is. You can put it in valet mode for when you take it for repairs or anything like that. That way no one's tampering with anything and seeing anything in your vehicle on your dash or anything. You can put it in valet mode, and that controls everything for that as well. So, again, like everyone else said, try the electric vehicles. I promise you'll love them. It's going to save on your gas and your electric bill. You're not going to really see a big difference in it.
And just like Antonio said, and I could just summarize this: just go try one and drive it and get information, and after that, make an informative decision.
Because it doesn't cost anything to try it.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and I'm gonna leave one last comment toward Lorraine.
The comment
okay, go ahead.
I had was that cars are going to be changing to electric drive within the next 10 years. I mean, it's just a superior way to drive. The question is it going to be battery or an engine or hydrogen that's going to be driving it? Because it's just a superior way to drive.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So I was going to say, Lorraine, this is what I was going to kind of end with. Come on, give Jonathan an opportunity every now and then to go and drive that car. Just give him a chance at it, okay?
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this part up. And again, thank you for the panelists. This has been really, I think, very good, very informative. And it's excellent information to hear from owners and drivers. And no technology is perfect, but this is a very good technology. And everyone should be open enough to give it an opportunity. And like these folks said, go drive one. I will challenge you to drive one and not smile at the end of the drive. I challenge you to do that. They're a lot of fun. I'm going to flip it back to Chelsea.
So just to echo Jeff's comments, many thanks to our panelists, Porsche Shreveport, Audi Shreveport, and Electrify America for making this event possible. And thank you, our attendees, for being part of SWEPCO's first virtual event. Again, you will receive a link to the event recording and the EV 101 slides in a follow-up email. Also included in that email will be a few EV resources and a post-event survey. Please fill that out to let us know how we did. And if you like what you heard and saw today, be sure to check out SWEPCO's Electric Vehicles playlist on YouTube, where we will be uploading test drive videos of today's panelists and their electric vehicles. And be sure to encourage your family and friends to view the recording of today's event as well. Happy National Drive Electric Week.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.